Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana makes car selling fast and easy from start to finish. Enter your license plate or VIN and get a real offer in seconds, down to the penny. If you accept, Carvana will come pick up your car from your driveway. Or you can drop it off at one of our car vending machines. Either way, you get paid instantly. It's fast, transparent, and 100% online. Car selling that saves your time. That's Carvana.
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
You are now entering the Stone Zone. Well, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has been the leading proponent for radical Islam in the U.S. Congress. She's a constant critic of America and everything it stands for, and a major proponent for Sharia law, which is, of course, completely and totally inconsistent with the United States Constitution. But there's a very substantial question as to whether Ilhan Omar's citizenship is legitimate and whether she's even in the country legally. Now, a prominent Somali community figure is blowing the whistle about Congresswoman Omar, claiming that she did, in fact, marry her own brother in order to obtain immigration and education benefits. That Somali community leader, Abdelkahim Assam, told the Daily Mail that Omar's second husband, Ahmed Elmi, was actually her biological brother, and that she married him so that she could get legal papers to enter and attend school in the United States. This confirms what was previously just a long-rumored claim. The two reportedly wed in 2009, not in a mosque, but in a Christian church outside of Minneapolis, something that Osman says was done to avoid questions from local Islamic authorities who would have known that the two were actually brother and sister. The whistleblower, Osman, says that the marriage was kept so quiet that even close community members only learned of it years later, when a marriage certificate was uncovered. By contrast, Omar's first marriage to Ahmed Hershey was a major Somali cultural event attended by more than 100 people. According to Osman, Elmi suddenly appeared in Minneapolis in the late 2000s, often seen with the couple and introduced as Omar's brother. Osman claims Elmi showed up from London with questionable authority and that Omar's marriage was aimed at securing the documents and eventually the student loans. Elmi and Omar divorced in 2017. She then remarried Hershey before divorcing him again in 2025, amid reports of an affair with her campaign fundraiser. It's clear that there's a major problem here and that the U.S. authorities need to examine whether Ilhan Omar married her own brother in order to illegally gain entrance into the United States. If that is the case, well, then she should be deported. Unfortunately, Somalis do not assimilate. They bring the third world culture with them. We have seen that in the wake of the $1 billion scandal in Minnesota, where the Somali community is responsible for at least $250 million in fraudulent payments connected to the COVID-19 vaccination pandemic. Interestingly enough, the great majority of that $250 million was not spent in the United States. It was actually sent back to Somalia, sent directly to Al-Shabaab, the terrorists there who are aligned with radical Islam. You heard it here first in the Stone Zone. Meanwhile, Ghislaine Maxwell, essentially Jeffrey Epstein's pimp, has had her grand jury materials unsealed. Finally, a New York federal judge has ordered the unsealing of grand jury materials connected to the prosecution of Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell. She's the woman convicted for being the accomplice of deceased pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, helping the sex trafficker lure underage girls into his global sex trafficking network. Judge Paul Engelmeyer granted the request after the Justice Department cited the newly passed Epstein Files Transparency Act. Normally, grand jury records stay sealed forever, but the judge ruled that the new law applies here, and the public has a right to see what has been long hidden. This is, of course, in contrast to previous motions by the Trump Justice Department to unseal all of the grand jury data that is connected to both Jeffrey Epstein's indictment in Florida for sex crimes in 2005 and his 2019 indictment for child sex trafficking and a second count of conspiring to engage in child sex trafficking. All of those motions, both in Florida and in New York, were denied by Democrat judges. So much for the idea that Democrats favor full exposure when it comes to all of the records regarding Jeffrey Epstein. This new order covers grand jury transcripts, exhibits, and documents the government gave Maxwell's defense leading up to her 2021 trial. Maxwell is currently serving 20 years for procuring underage girls for Epstein, whose network served global figures, high-profile businessmen, and political elites, none of whom are serving any time in prison for their criminal actions. Congress overwhelmingly passed legislation to declassify the Epstein files last month, demanding disclosure of materials held by the Department of Justice related to Epstein and his enablers. Epstein, of course, died in federal custody in 2019 in what I believe was a murder, but was made to look like a suicide. I note that the highly respected and longtime New York City medical examiner Michael Baden was retained by the Epstein family to examine Epstein's body, and he stated unequivocally that the various bones broken in Epstein's neck were completely inconsistent with hanging. I note that Dr. Baden has performed the autopsy in over 1,000 cases where the deceased allegedly hung themselves or were hung. The unsealing of the Maxwell grand jury materials will get us one step closer to understanding the nature of Epstein's operation and all the players are involved. But by and large, this entire issue has backfired spectacularly in the face of Democrats who have tried to say that Trump has somehow done something improper or has something to hide. Let's go through the facts. Donald Trump cut Jeffrey Epstein off in late 2004, banned him from all of his properties and his life. That was prior to Epstein being exposed and charged for sex crimes in Florida. It was Donald Trump was the only high-profile public figure to assist in the litigation by by Virginia Roberts Giuffre, one of Epstein's victims who refused the multi-million-dollar settlement offered by Epstein and moved forward with her case against the sexual trafficker. The lawyer, Brad Edwards, then representing Giuffre, said that Trump was literally the only high-profile figure who would assist in that effort. Even though he continues to deny it, the FAA manifest shows that Bill Clinton visited Epstein's island on multiple occasions. Also, the sworn testimony of Virginia Roberts Giuffre records the same. It is also undeniable that Jeffrey Epstein both provided the seed capital for the formation of the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton Global Initiative. The Democrats, at the end of the day, jumping up and down for full disclosure, will only regret it because what it will show is that high-profile Democrats, including Bill Clinton, Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, U.S. Senate Majority Leader George Mitchell, and big-time Democrat donor Bill Gates were among those who partied on Epstein's island. Meanwhile, the Biden administration, it turns out, knew the identity of the January 6 bombing suspect all along. Federal court filings suggest that the Biden-area FBI had identified the January 6 pipe bomb suspect, Brian Cole, as early as April of 2021, yet no arrest was made for nearly 5 years. According to an affidavit and the January 6th Select Committee, an FBI team flagged a then redacted individual who appeared near both the Republican National Committee and the Democrat National Committee headquarters the night that the pipe bomb devices were planted, based on cell phone tracking data. The January 6th Select Committee stated, as the FBI continued analyzing large data sets from the carriers, certain devices exhibited behavior consistent with the suspect. The FBI requested and received the historic cell tower data for that user, and as of April 2021, the case team was attempting to further analyze the user's movements. It's unclear what happened after that lead at this time. Now, Cole was arrested and has finally been taken into custody and charged with the use of an explosive device and attempted malicious destruction. Investigators say Cole later admitted to placing the bombs on January 5th, the eve of what I believe was a Fed-surrection. Cell tower data reportedly connected Cole's phone to the exact areas where the pipe bomb devices were found. So the Biden administration clearly kept this information from the American public, allowing the dangerous suspect to roam free in order to further their political agenda of casting Trump supporters as terrorists. On behalf of Mrs. Stone and I want to thank the literally thousands of Stone Zone listeners and others who follow us on the internet for their very warm congratulations on the occasion of our 33rd wedding anniversary. Seems like yesterday that Nydia Stone and I were married at the Willard Hotel in Washington, D.C. Among the guests at that wedding, New Jersey Governor Tom Kean, upstate Buffalo Congressman Jack Kemp, but the most famous attendee of all, our honored guest, Donald J. Trump. Now, Donald Trump was quite the hit of the reception after the wedding. He was the third person to dance with the bride after myself, my father, and then Donald Trump. Then he danced with my mother and then my mother-in-law. That's the real Donald Trump, a warm and loyal person. Now he and his then fiancée, Marla Maples, evidently had an argument in the lobby of the Willard Hotel, and she threw her engagement ring at him, which the tabloids jumped on as a big story. But my friendship with the president goes all the way back to 1979 when I met him when sent to New York to organize Governor Ronald Reagan's campaign for President of the United States. By the way, Reagan swept all the delegates in New York State over the closest contender, George H.W. Bush. It wasn't until 1988 that I came up with the idea of Donald Trump running for president. I realized that he had the size, the stature, the courage, the stamina, and the independence to be not just a great candidate for president, but to actually be a great president. And I believe that I've been proven right, and that America's golden age lies yet ahead. I'm kind of amused by the panicans who already say, Republicans are going to lose the midterm elections. I saw all this in 1982. By 1984, because of the tax cuts and the regulatory cuts put in place by Ronald Reagan, even bigger cuts now put in place by Donald Trump, the economy was booming. And so shall it be in 26 and 28. You're listening to Roger Stone here on the Stone Zone. Please don't touch that dial and continue to listen, because we'll be right back with more Hot Politics.
This is Roger Stone. The holidays are here, and it's the time of year when travel, crowds, and cold weather mean one thing: everybody's getting sick. And in moments like this, you don't want to rely on the bureaucracy, the nonsense, or the slow-moving medical machine. You want control. You want to be prepared. You want options. That's why I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy, a company that actually puts you in charge of your health. You can go to allfamilypharmacy.com/stone, place your order online, and a licensed physician reviews it. Once approved, your medication medication ships directly to your doorstep. Fast, private, and secure. So whether you're looking for ivermectin, antibiotics, or everyday maintenance medications, All Family Pharmacy now has you covered. No waiting rooms, no runaround, no interference. This holiday season, don't gamble with your health or your family's health. Stay prepared, stay protected, stay in control. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/stone and now save 10% with code STONE10. Take charge of your health because nobody cares about your freedom more than you do.
My name is Percy Jackson. Getting in trouble is like breathing for me.
The hit series returns to Disney Plus and Hulu.
The danger the camp is under is greater than you can possibly imagine.
For the key to our survival, 3 of you must quest to the Sea of Monsters.
Let's go do the impossible. I'm not gonna let some stupid monster stand in my way.
Percy Jackson and the Olympians. New season now on Disney Plus and Hulu. Learn more at disneyplus.com/what's-on.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. Jay Kelly, the new film from Academy Award nominee Noah Baumbach. George Clooney stars as an actor confronting his past and present on a journey of self-discovery, alongside Adam Sandler as his devoted manager. Critics are calling it a declaration of love to the chaotic art of filmmaking, with the Wall Street Journal praising it as a transcendent comedy drama. Jay Kelly is now playing only on Netflix.
This episode is brought to you by McAfee.
I got a message that our flight was canceled. But they can put us on another flight, and we just need to confirm our credit card info.
Wait, I got a security alert from McAfee. It flagged that message as a scam.
McAfee's scam detector automatically spots and alerts you to suspicious texts, emails, and deepfake videos. Learn more at McAfee.com/online protection.
The Stone Zone. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
You are now re-entering the Stone Zone. Well, I'm very disappointed to see that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, increasingly engulfed in scandals regarding corruption, has flatly rejected President Trump's peace proposal, rejecting what I believe was a very fair deal that Trump offered to both Ukraine and Russia. Zelensky says he'll never agree to any deal which requires Ukraine to give up any territory, which means he will see the war through until every last able-bodied man, including both the young and the old, is killed and thrown into the meat grinder of this horrific war. At that point, I suspect Russia will take the entire mass of Ukraine by force. Trump's peace plan was built around a real military solution. Russia holds most of the territory in question, won't ever come to the table unless concessions are offered. Zelensky knows that, but continues to insist that Ukrainian borders will not change under any circumstances, despite years of battlefield losses and untilled billions of U.S. tax dollars pouring into the war effort, much of it unfortunately unaccounted for. Which has either ended up in the pockets of Zelensky and his cronies. I recently went to Miami Beach to visit Zelensky's palatial $3.8 million beachfront condominium. Not sure how he paid for that. Or, as Elon Musk says, backed by Congressman Tim Burchett, some of this money has probably made its way back into the pockets of some of our very own elected officials who voted for the $1 million to begin with. Zelensky demanded tougher guarantees from Washington, asking in his words that his partners will do if Russia again starts the war, but the proposal included those security guarantees. The president has warned if Kyiv refuses the deal, Ukraine shouldn't expect the United States to continue footing the bill indefinitely. Trump has hinted that Europe can pay for Ukraine's weapons instead, and even suggested U.S. military intelligence sharing could finally be scaled back. Meanwhile, Trump slammed European leaders as impotent and mocked their attempts to draft a counterproposal, accusing Zelensky of not even reading the latest plan. Don't ever expect Zelensky to agree to any peace deal. He continues to postpone elections again and again, so don't tell me this fight is about democracy. He actually needs war to continue to subsidize his own greed, power, and penchant for nose candy. You can see it in all the videos. The war is the only thing stopping Zelensky from being held to account for his crimes by his own people. President Trump is on to their scam, and he's calling for elections in Ukraine. President Trump said, yeah, I think they should hold an election. They haven't had an election in a long time. They talk a lot about democracy, but it gets to a point where it's not about democracy at all. Zelensky's various scandals, with many of his cabinet officials resigning in disgrace, and now his former business partner accused of embezzling $100 million from an energy firm, spending it on things like gold and toilets. He is wildly unpopular with the Ukrainian people, cannot win an election, which is why he has postponed them.
Okay, only 10 more presents to wrap. You're almost at the finish line. But first... There, the last one. Enjoy a Coca-Cola for a pause that refreshes.
The Lincoln Wishlist sales event is happening now. Here's what's on everyone's wish list. Enjoying holiday jingles with brilliant 3D audio that surrounds you? Check. Watching snow flurries through the panoramic vista roof? Check. Packing up presents with the spacious Lincoln Splitgate? Check. Everything you want. All standard on the 2025 Lincoln Navigator SUV. Visit your local Lincoln retailer or learn more at Lincoln.com for exceptional offers on 2025 Lincoln vehicles today.
Hi, it's Eva Longoria, and let's be real. After 40, we should ask for more from our skincare. I swear by Revitalift Triple Power Moisturizer by L'Oreal Paris. With vitamin C, pro-retinol, and hyaluronic acid, it reduces my wrinkles, firms, and brightens. And it's not a procedure. It's just a hard-working moisturizer.
Revitalift Triple Power Moisturizer by L'Oreal Paris. Grab it today in fragrance-free or with SPF 30. Available at your local Walmart.
What if an appliance emergency didn't have to be? If your appliances suddenly decided they were done, don't stress. Best Buy has you covered with a wide variety of major appliances from trusted brands, in stock and available now. So you don't have to worry about laundry piling up, refilling the fridge, or that big dinner party you're hosting. Because Best Buy has the knowledge and expertise to get you the right appliance for your home. Learn more at bestbuy.com. Best Buy. Imagine that.
The Stone Zone. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back. You are re-entering the Stone Zone. Well, 'tis the season, and coming December 20th, it's home for the holidays with Mr. Christmas himself, Vinny Madugno. So get ready to slay your night away with live performances, hideously ugly Christmas sweaters, and jolly friends. That's right, it's Mr. Christmas, Vinny Madugno, singing your holiday favorites live in concert beginning December 20th. For more information and tickets, go to homefortheholidays2025.com. That's homefortheholidays2025.com. That's right, it's your chance to hear Mr. Christmas himself, Vinny Madugno, live in concert. That's homefortheholidays2025.com to reserve your tickets now. In the meantime, we have heard that Jasmine Crockett, the new face of the Democrat Party, has officially entered the Texas U.S. Senate primary following the withdrawal of Congressman Colin Allred. Crockett filed her paperwork on Monday with an official campaign launch expected later this week. She'll compete with another Democrat, James Tallarico, while Republicans have a strong and competitive primary that includes current incumbent Rhino Senator John Cornyn, pro-Trump Republican Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, and Congressman Wesley Hunt. They face off in a highly contentious Republican primary. Crockett has become renowned for constant race baiting and her fake eyelashes after the recent terrorist attack on two National Guardsmen by an Afghani national, in which one of them was tragically killed and the other one horrifically wounded. Crockett went on MSNBC to say that so-called white supremacists are the ones who should be deported. rather than Afghanis, like the one accused of this crime. Crockett said, let's talk about the white supremacists and how many of them need to be kicked out of this country. I can guarantee you I can track down more crimes they've committed. Overall, immigrants have a lower crime commission rate than white supremacists. But we don't want to talk about that. That is, of course, completely and totally absurd. But then most of what she says is absurd. What's more interesting, and I wrote a long piece about this, is how she pretends to be ghetto trash, but in fact she comes from a highly privileged and upper middle class background, attending a private school, living and growing up in a mansion. But her radical politics represents where today's Democrat Party is. AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Ilhan Omar. Earlier we talked about the fact that she married her own brother to get into the country illegally, and Toledo Rashid, and that old blowhard Bernie Sanders. That's the new face of the Democrat Party. I'm kind of amused whenever I see Bernie Sanders. He used to criticize millionaires and billionaires. Now I notice that he only criticizes billionaires. That's because Bernie and his wife skimmed millions of dollars from his two unsuccessful but well-funded presidential campaigns in the form of media placement fees. Now, that's not illegal, but it is, I think, unethical unless he disclosed to his donors that he and his wife were making millions off his presidential candidacy. I can find no record of his ever doing so. Bernie Sanders, a man who's never actually held a private sector job. He was once the mayor of Burlington, Vermont. Bernie has 3 homes: a vacation home in Vail, a home in Vermont, and an apartment in Paris. He drives a top-of-the-line Mercedes. So when it comes to Bernie Sanders, Comrade Sanders likes socialism for thee, but not for himself. Jasmine Crockett, one of his acolytes, is one of the most embarrassing IQ race baiters in the entire Congress, but she is emblematic of today's Democrat Party. When some of my Republican friends who are panicking start saying that we will surely lose the 2026 election, please recognize how screwed up today's Democrat Party is. Moderate Democrats can no longer win a primary. Chuck Schumer is holding his breath, praying that AOC runs for president instead of running for his U.S. Senate seat, because if she challenges him in the Democrat primary, well, Chuck Schumer is toast, and he knows it. Don't scoff at that idea. AOC is trying to make a decision right now as to whether she should run for the U.S. Senate in New York or whether she should run for, yes, President of the United States. The former bartender from the Bronx could actually raise the table stakes for a U.S. Senate campaign. She could also raise the money for a presidential bid. I would keep an eye, however, on Act Blue. Act Blue is the Democrat payment processing company now under federal investigation. Act Blue, for example, was responsible for generating millions of dollars for the campaign of New York Attorney General Letitia James. Interestingly enough, however, Act Blue turned off the function where one needs to list their address when paying by credit card or Apple Pay. That way, it makes it more difficult to trace whether these contributions are even real and legitimate. In many cases, where you have a series of very small donations to the same Democrat candidate, when Project Veritas or James O'Keefe of O'Keefe Media or other journalists have gone to visit those donors, they overwhelmingly say that they have no knowledge of these contributions or the people they went to. So this is where the Democrats got most of their funding in statewide races in the last cycle, but perhaps Act Blue will not be quite as remunerative and lucrative this time. A lot regarding the 2026 election has to do with redistricting. I suspect redistricting in Florida will produce, for example, 3 new House seats, all of whom, because of the demographic shifts in the state, are likely to be won by Republicans. The U.S. Supreme Court recently upheld the redistricting plan passed in the state of Texas. I suspect that could afford as many as 5 new Republican seats. California, of course, in the last election, threw out their bipartisan redistricting commission that has long done the congressional redistricting in the Golden State, and we have to expect that the governor there, Gavin Newsom, and his compatriots will attempt to finagle on the basis of manipulation of the Hispanic community in their redistricting. New districts there, that will be challenged again in the Supreme Court. I believe it already is. As far as Illinois and New York and other overwhelmingly Democrat states, they've already been gerrymandered. I don't think the Democrats can squeeze any new seats out of those states based on demographic or populism shifts. President Trump's push for tougher Republican congressional maps nationwide actually took a major step forward on Monday as the Indiana Senate Elections Committee finally voted 6-3 to advance a mid-decade redistricting bill that would likely give the Republican Party all 9 of Indiana's U.S. House seats in 2026. The measure now heads to the full Senate, where Republican leaders remain split despite intense pressure from the White House and the Republican National Committee. States typically redraw maps once a decade after the census, but with Democrats using lawfare to manipulate redistricting in their favor nationwide, Trump has encouraged Republican-led states to act now, arguing Republicans are entitled to reclaim seats that Democrats gained through activist judges and years of friendly gerrymanders in blue states. Texas, Missouri, and North Carolina have already responded, as will Florida. Indiana could be next. The proposed map would divide Indianapolis across 4 districts, eliminating Democrat-leaning seats and reinforcing a strong Republican majority in the states where Democrats still only represent about 45% of registered voters. This map prevents Democrats from regaining an artificial advantage. Democrats are already signaling legal challenges, once again playing the race card, as they always do, in an attempt to keep the system gamed in their favor. But last week's U.S. Supreme Court ruling allowing Texas's map to stand suggests that those challenges may be increasingly difficult. Turning point action has been on the ground, letting Republicans in the Indiana legislature know that if they do not do the right thing, there will be serious consequences. But I think they have to keep the heat on all these lawmakers. When their backs are against the wall, these squishy, moderate Republicans will be forced to do the right thing, whether they want to do it or not. The future of our country may very well depend on it. I think everyone recognizes that should the Democrats win the 2026 election, the country will be once again mired in impeachment inquiries and endless, baseless investigations by the Democrats. It is almost laughable to continue to see the Democrats say that Trump is weaponizing the criminal justice system against his political opponents and enemies. Remember the rules of Saul Alinsky, the famous communist operative and revolutionary. Always accuse your opponents and the enemy of exactly that which you are engaged in. I can tell you firsthand, as can President Trump and my good friend General Michael Flynn, that they are the ones who have weaponized the system, trying to destroy the lives of those that they oppose. The question that remains is whether the current Justice Department is going to bring all of those who were involved in the seditious conspiracy to destroy Donald Trump and his presidency to justice. There is no question whatsoever now, based on the declassified documents released by the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, that there was a conspiracy born in a White House meeting in April of 2016, led by President Barack Obama himself, Vice President Joe Biden, National Security Advisor Susan Rice, CIA Director and Russian collusion ringleader John Brennan, corrupt FBI Director James Comey, and others to remove Donald Trump, claimed on based on completely fabricated evidence of Russian collusion. They base this almost solely on the so-called Steele dossier. You've heard of it. It was pushed relentlessly in the mainstream media by CIA operatives like Ken Delanian of NBC and others over at Yahoo.com. Of course, it turns out to be a complete and total fabrication. The Steele dossier, which was really the basis for the entire Russian collusion hoax, was a report that claimed that Donald Trump, Citizen Trump, while visiting Moscow as a private businessman, had dallied with Moscow prostitutes. This was a fabrication paid for by Hillary Clinton's campaign and masked in her campaign finance reports as legal fees. She actually paid a fine for that. Robert Mueller and his henchman Andrew Weissman, the single most corrupt prosecutor in U.S. history, by the way, upcoming book and documentary on him called Pitbull, the most corrupt prosecutor in U.S. history, knew full well that the so-called Steele dossier was a fugazi from the beginning. Yet they used it as one of the two touchstones to justify their witch hunt. The other one was the false claim that the Russian intelligence had conducted an online hack of the Democrat National Committee. That was a lie also. That is a figment of the imagination of CIA Director John Brennan. I could have actually proved at my own trial that all the forensic evidence proved that never happened. And to the extent that DNC records were purloined, they were downloaded to a portable disk and taken out the back door. Of course, the judge would not allow us to prove that at trial, but it remains true that there is no evidence, none whatsoever, other than the spacious claim of the intelligence agencies that the Democrat National Committee was the target of a Russian intelligence hack. It was on the basis of those two big lies that Donald Trump's first term as president was under a cloud for at least 3 years. And the question that many of my fellow Trump supporters around the country are asking is simply whether or not this Justice Department, under the leadership of Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, will bring these criminals engaged in seditious treason to account, whether they will actually be indicted. I believe it is a possibility. Going to trial in D.C. would be a waste of time. You could never get a fair or unbiased judge or jury there, but they can go to trial in the Southern District of Florida because this is a seditious conspiracy that begins in Washington, D.C., takes you all the way through the 2020 election, including 2 impeachments, but more importantly ends at the raid at Mar-a-Lago at Donald Trump's palatial home in Palm Beach, which makes this the venue for these people to be held accountable and for the American people to finally see justice. I'm Roger Stone. You're listening to The Stone Zone. Don't go away because we'll be right back.
REI Co-op presents a perfect outdoor moment with the perfect gift. Picture this. You're ripping with your favorite person. Bluebird skies, blower powder, and frankly, you're skiing like legends.
So sick. Another lap?
Thanks to REI's curation, from lid to sticks, you nailed the gift.
No way. How'd you know?
Does it get more perfect than that? Give without guessing. Shop in store or visit REI.com.
Rain-X wipers are the #1 wiper blades in America. That means all kinds of drivers choose Rain-X. Big drivers in small cars choose Rain-X. Small drivers in big cars choose Rain-X. Drivers with long hair and short commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with short hair and long commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with pets on board, babies on board, and bored babies on board choose Rain-X. Basically, drivers who love a clear view of the road all choose Rain-X wipers, the #1 wiper blades in America.
How do I do it all during the holidays? 4 words. Shipped, same day, delivery. With Shipped, I can order groceries from Albertsons, decor from Michael's, even gifts for my furry friend from PetSmart. Plus, my personal shopper brings everything I need that same day. That makes it a breeze to decorate, get my shopping done, and make time for all the holiday parties. Do it all this holiday season with Shipped. Download the app or visit Shipped.com. That's SHIPT.com.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kann du Norsk?
If you used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world, with lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers. Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/Spotify, spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify. Rules and restrictions may apply.
The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Stone Zone. Another sign that President Trump's economic policies are working, gasoline prices have hit their lowest point in almost 5 years. Gas Buddy reports the national average dipped below $2.90 a gallon for the first time since May of 2021. The current average of about $2.89 marks the lowest price in over 1,680 days. Prices fell another 5 cents just last week and nearly 18 cents over the last month. Americans are now commonly seeing prices around $2.79 per gallon, down 20 cents from the previous week. Diesel prices are also easing, dropping to $3.67 a gallon, unless there's a sudden shock or supply disruption. Analysts say prices should stay on the low side and continue to drop going into the new year. California and Hawaii continue to post the most expensive fuel prices of around $4.40 a gallon, while Oklahoma drivers are paying just $2.36. The worst period for gas prices in recent memory happened during, no surprise here, President Joe Biden in year 2021, when national averages soared past $5 a gallon. Amazing what a difference a few years can make. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, to my mind, one of President Trump's very best appointees, a strong believer in tax reduction. I think he would actually like to see the Federal Income Tax Act of 1913 repealed. We might as well repeal the Federal Reserve Act while we're at it. Bessent is a strong believer in cryptocurrency as well as gold. But Bessent says the administration is now bringing inflation back under control after years of government-driven price spikes. Last week, Trump scrapped the Biden-era fuel economy mandates that squeezed gasoline vehicles and pushed families toward electric cars that they didn't ask for nor did they want. This should also help affordability in the auto industry in general. For millions of families heading into Christmas travel, this is very welcome news. So have a very MAGA Christmas and enjoy the freedom of lower and lower gas prices. Meanwhile, we figured out that the Doge experiments run by Elon Musk, that's the Department of Government Efficiency, announced that it's now canceled or downsized an additional 43 federal contracts that cost the American taxpayers $3.5 billion. This actually will save U.S. taxpayers about $220 million this year alone. One of the terminated deals included a $4.3 million Treasury contract that would have spent millions to develop something called a strategic narrative for human-centered transformation, whatever the hell that means. Sounds kind of demonic if you ask me, but we don't have to worry about that anymore because it's been zeroed out. Another great cut was the $29 million Commerce Department consulting deal to manage paperwork and planning. Doge says the days of paying Washington contractors huge sums of money justified only by vague buzzwords and titles are coming to an end. According to the agency, total savings from the initiative now exceed $214 billion since the launch, more than $1,300 per American taxpayer. I'm grateful to Elon Musk for kicking off this cost-saving effort. I think ultimately it will benefit every American. Glad to see Elon and President Trump back together again. Together they are the Batman and Robin of saving federal taxpayers. It is welcome news regarding these huge new cuts. So I want to thank you for joining us today in the Stone Zone, where 5 days a week we talk news, history, of course, politics, and dare I say it, culture. Until tomorrow, God bless you and Godspeed.
Thanks for listening to The Stone Zone with Roger Stone. You can hear The Stone Zone with Roger Stone weeknights at 8 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Take my word for it. I live there. Come to Florida. Get pre-approved right now with my guy Michael Kotze. Call him at 561-441-2730. He's got Choice Mortgage and a great real estate team. Get pre-approved right now. Michael Kotze, 561-441-2730. Buy in Florida right now. Don't wait. Save money on state taxes. Make your move today with Choice Mortgage. Trust me, Florida is waiting. This guy's so good, he did my commercials in Florida too. Mike Kotze, 561-441-2730. All right.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here, wishing you a very happy half-off holiday, because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.